The sleek, impersonal departure board at Gate 14 flickered. My 9:55 p.m. flight, the last connection to my hometown of Crestview, blinked decisively from on time to a brutal red canceled. A collective groan, laced with fatigue and frustration, rose from the cluster of stranded passengers. I slumped into a cold metal chair, the polished, sterile silence of the late-night terminal suddenly oppressive. I'd just spent 3 grueling days in this city, successfully negotiating the merger that would cement my company's dominance in the regional market. The adrenaline had evaporated, leaving only bone-deep exhaustion and a desperate craving for my own bed. And now this. My phone buzzed in my blazer pocket. A familiar sinking feeling preceded the glance at the screen. A text from Mom. Heard your flight got the axe. Airline says operational issues. Sounds like a you problem. Guess you're stuck. Have fun walking home, loser. P.S. Don't bother calling Dad for a ride. We're at the opening night of that new avant-garde play. You wouldn't get it anyway. A cold knot tightened in my stomach, warmer than the airport air conditioning. To their only son, Leo, I remained the perennial black sheep, the baffling disappointment who'd wasted a top-tier MBA by playing with toy airplanes instead of taking his ordained place at Vance Capital, the family hedge fund. My fascination with aviation logistics, which started with model planes as a kid, was a source of mockery, not curiosity. They'd never bothered to learn that my playing involved securing venture capital, navigating FAA regulations, and building Skyhaven Aviation from a single leased turboprop into a quiet but fiercely efficient and profitable regional carrier. They owned a diversified portfolio. I owned an airline. The irony was a private, bitter tonic I'd sipped for years. I didn't text back. The urge to fire off a defensive, pleading reply was an old, weak habit I'd worked hard to break. Instead, I took a slow, deliberate breath, centering myself in the chaos of the gate area. I opened a discreet, minimalist app on my phone, not for banking or social media, but for Skyhaven's internal operations. I flagged my location at the airport, typed a quick direct message to Maria, my supremely capable and unflappable chief of operations, and waited. The response was faster than I expected. Within minutes, a man in an impeccably tailored Skyhaven uniform, navy blazer, gray trousers, a tie embroidered with a subtle wing motif, approached the disgruntled crowd huddled around the abandoned check-in desk of SunWest Air, the competing airline that had canceled my flight. He carried an air of calm authority. "Ladies and gentlemen," his voice, clear and reassuring, cut through the grumbles. "On behalf of Skyhaven Aviation, we extend our sympathies for your canceled SunWest service. We understand the inconvenience. As a gesture of goodwill and community support, Skyhaven has arranged a dedicated aircraft to accommodate all confirmed passengers on this route tonight. We have space for everyone. Please gather your belongings and follow me to Gate B7. Boarding will commence in approximately 20 minutes. My phone buzzed again. Mom, of course. "So, blisters forming yet? This play is interminably dreadful, all whispered monologues and symbolic shadows. You're missing nothing. Well, except a warm bed and basic dignity." I allowed myself a small, tight smile that held no warmth. I stood, picked up my carry-on, a worn leather duffel I preferred over the flashier brands my parents favored, and walked not towards the exit signs, but in the direction of Gate B7. As I approached the podium, the agent there, a young woman named Chloe according to her polished name tag, looked up. Her eyes met mine, and she gave a subtle, almost imperceptible nod of recognition that was pure professionalism. "Sir," she said, her voice pitched just loud enough for the nearest passengers to overhear, "your aircraft is prepped and the crew is ready. Would you prefer to board now?" I simply inclined my head. "Thank you, Chloe, that would be fine." Stepping into the cabin was like coming home. The flight attendant in the galley, an older woman named Geraldine, who'd been with me since the turboprop days, offered a warm, knowing smile. "Good evening, Mr. Vance. Seat 1A is all yours. Can I bring you anything? Sparkling water? We have that ginger tea you like." "Sparkling water would be perfect, Geraldine. Thank you." "Congratulations on closing the Atleron deal," she murmured as she prepared the drink. Maria sent a company-wide memo. We're all very proud. The genuine pride in her voice was a bomb. "I appreciate that. Tell the crew, please." A different number this time. Dad. "Your mother mentioned your SunWest flight fell through. That's rotten luck. Everything all right on your end? Do you need me to have my assistant book you a room at the Concord Suites? It's connected to the terminal." It was a lukewarm lifeline, typical of him, the good cop to mom's bad cop, but always from a safe, emotionally detached distance, usually mediated by an assistant. It wasn't concern, it was crisis management for the family unit. Before I could formulate a reply, another text from Mom popped up, likely after Dad had performed his duty and checked in. "Ugh, Dad says he can get you a room at the Concord Suites. Try not to embarrass us by staying at one of those pod hotels, or, God forbid, actually sleeping in the terminal like a vagrant. Image matters, Leo, even in failure." The captain's voice, warm and calm, filled the cabin. "Good evening, folks. This is Captain Reeves speaking from the flight deck. Welcome aboard this special Skyhaven service, Flight 9001, non-stop service to Crestview International. This is an exclusive charter we've arranged last minute to ensure all of you make it home tonight. Our weather en route is clear, and we've been granted a priority departure slot. Our flight time is just under 2 hours. My crew and I are glad to have you with us." A profound sense of calm settled over me. I picked up my phone. I opened the family group chat, a digital monument to our carefully curated dysfunction, labeled simply "The Vances," and typed slowly, deliberately, each tap of the screen feeling significant. No pod hotel needed, and no Concord Suites. Thanks for the concern, though. I then attached a single photo. It was a selfie, taken just moments before. The frame showed me, still in my rumpled business travel attire, a faint, unreadable smile on my face. In one hand, I held the glass of sparkling water, bubbles clinging to the sides. The most dominant feature in the background was the pristine navy blue bulkhead of the Airbus, emblazoned with the sleek silver Skyhaven logo, a stylized S and H forming a bird in flight. Through the window next to me, the unmistakable view of a terminal building, its rows of gates receding into the distance, was clearly visible, along with a sliver of the aircraft's wing painted in Skyhaven's signature livery. I took a breath and hit send. The plane began to push back from the gate, the world outside starting to drift slowly past my window. My phone, now a silent black rectangle, stayed that way for the full 5 minutes as we taxied. The cabin was filled with the low hum of engines and the gentle chatter of rescued passengers. Then, just as the plane turned onto the threshold of the main runway, lining its nose with the centerline lights stretching into the darkness, it buzzed, once. Not a text notification, the screen lit up with an incoming call. The name flashing was Mom. I watched it. I watched her name pulse on the screen, a tiny digital heartbeat in the dim cabin light. I felt the eyes of the passenger across the aisle flick towards me, then politely away. I let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. The voicemail icon finally expired. I didn't pick it up. I didn't send it to voicemail. I just let it expire on its own terms. Outside, the engine spooled up with a rising, mighty roar that vibrated through the seat, pressing me back into the leather as we began our accelerating dash down the runway. The lights outside blurred into streaks as a gentle, lifting surge, the ground fell away. We were airborne, climbing into the velvet blackness of the night sky, the city shrinking into a grid of glittering jewels below. The walk home, it seemed, would be conducted at 38,000 feet in the quiet, pressurized comfort of my own kingdom. The silence from their end was no longer a weapon of dismissal I had to endure. It had transformed. It was the sweet, soundless hum of the tables finally, irrevocably turning. The 1,200 miles between us weren't just geographical distance, they were a chasm of their own making, and for the first time, I realized I was perfectly content, cruising smoothly and comfortably on my side of it. I didn't need to explain, justify, or seek a landing permit in their world. I was quite literally above it all.